Well, hey there, guys. Welcome back to the channel. After 9 games of the season, Tottenham are top of the Premier League on goal difference, but can they win a title this season? Today, I'm joined by John Cross, who's the chief football writer for the Daily Mirror. And before we get into it, if you are new to our channel, please subscribe to us, follow us on the socials, and let us know your comments in the comments down below. So, John, thanks for joining us today. It is early days, but after their good win at the weekend against Man City. Can Spurs win the league this season?
I think they can. I think it's a slightly different question as to whether they will. But I do think it's the most open season for years. I do think there's an opportunity there for, maybe 3 or 4 clubs to really stake a claim. And I think Spurs are in that bracket. They're in that group of, clubs. Because if you look, the outstanding team of last season, and arguably still the outstanding team, is Liverpool. And they are suffering injuries. They are suffering from fatigue issues. The games are cropping up. It's the same for everyone, obviously. But I just feel that it's, you'd have basically put your house on Liverpool retaining the title, wouldn't you? Under normal circumstances, they were so far ahead last season and have made some decent signings. Having said that, I just think it's a freakish season whereby you are going to get upsets. You are going to get crazy madcap results. And I just think that there would be an opening for teams not just to close the gap, but to mount a genuine threat. And I look at the way that Spurs have improved under Mourinho, have evolved, even during the course of this season so far. And I think that they would be in with that clutch of clubs. I mean, you're still relying on Liverpool in a way slipping up, because I would have, argued, made a strong case for Leicester being another club that are basically put in this bracket. And listen, I still think they are. But then you look at what Liverpool did to Leicester at Anfield on Sunday night, and I don't think Leicester were anywhere near their best. So we should take that into account. But Liverpool had players missing, and yet still turned in an incredible, remarkable performance in which they overpowered Leicester and showed what a really good team they are. So you are still relying on Liverpool slipping up. But I do think that, Tottenham are one of those clubs ready to pounce if things take another turn for the worse for Jurgen Klopp's men.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, particularly with injuries to all sides. So if Spurs can get through the next, upcoming games unscathed, they've got Chelsea away, Arsenal at home, Palace away. You know what Palace are like with random results. Liverpool away, Leicester at home. If they could get through those results, maybe not unbeaten, but get some positive wins, is the title challenge more sort of realistic after that?
Yeah, I think they have got a big test coming up, haven't they? It's a big month for Spurs, basically. I think particularly, the Chelsea game really, be interesting, because I think that Chelsea are another one of those teams that could sort of kind of seize that opportunity. They've done so well lately, Chelsea. I mean, it's 1 goal conceded in their last 7 games, Chelsea. Tremendous record. And they are playing well. And they've got a strong base now, so that's another team to sort of kind of take in the mix, and that'll be an acid test for Chelsea. We know what the rivalry is like, even without the fans. I think there'll be needle there, and then I think you've got Arsenal. I think Spurs are quite a distance ahead of Arsenal at the moment, and then Liverpool, at Anfield. So I don't think we should get away from the fact that it's a tough run of games, where I think that Jose Mourinho will seize upon it. It's just like they did against Man City when they played so well. If you don't run away from those games, if you're not scared or frightened of those games, you can really lay down a marker, I think, and say, this is us, this is what we're capable of. When we play this well, then we can live with anyone. And that would have given the players so much confidence. I think it probably gives them confidence going into the month ahead, because it shows that they're genuine contenders and properly in the mix.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's the 1 year anniversary. Well, recently it was of Mourinho ending up at Spurs. I mean, you mentioned earlier that Spurs have evolved, but what's changed from when Jose was first appointed at Tottenham over a year ago to now? What's changed over that time?
Well, it has been a period of ups and downs. I don't think even Jose Mourinho, could claim it was completely plain sailing. I mean, I think he made a good start, had a bit of a dip fairly early on, and sort of people were thinking, oh, is this going to work? And I remember going to a game, I think it was in January against Liverpool, when they tried to do a similar rearguard action as they did against Man City. Frankly, it didn't work. Liverpool won the game, albeit narrowly. And then basically Spurs fans were going, Jose Mourinho's not for us. Basically, doesn't he know how Spurs play? And that's to win with style, you know. And so I think you've got to balance it up and be realistic about this. But equally, I just feel that over time, Mourinho has been able to kind of change the squad a bit, you know, sort of make sort of improvements. I mean, Gareth Bale gives them a bit of a turbo boost, doesn't he? Sort of in terms of, you know, sort of kind of, you know, maybe coming on from the bench, you'd expect him to improve in terms of match fitness and sharpness as the months progress, because he's clearly not there yet. Otherwise, you play a world-class player like him. You know, I mean, the left back that they've signed from Real Madrid, what a super player he is. I mean, you know, Reguilon is fantastic, isn't he? You know, sort of kind of, you know, and Doherty, frankly, Doherty is now, you know, I thought he was a good signing. What I would say about Doherty is maybe his best quality has been to bring out the best in Aurier. You know, that competition has suddenly made Aurier sit up and take notice and improve. You know, whereas Aurier seemed to be a bit of a liability. Often get caught out of position and then try and make sort of, you know, make amends and make rash decisions and mistakes. Now he just seems a bit more focused, you know, knows that he's got a battle on his hands, and that squad has evolved. I think he's found a way of playing, his preferred way of playing, and I think that helps. You know, he's got the best out of Ndombele, and Ndombele looks an absolute, you know, powerhouse in central midfield. His passing, his vision, his range, such an intelligent player. You know, he's got so many aspects to his game. He's such an interesting player. Because how on earth do you kind of pigeonhole him? The answer is you don't really. And I just think the back end of last season, Mourinho wasn't having him. Just wasn't having him. He couldn't.
He
You know,
got subbed off against Burnley at half time, didn't he?
half time, yeah. And I just think, you know, I think how can you let a player of that talent go to waste? And I think basically, you know, Mourinho was giving him tough love. Basically, it doesn't work with every player. You know, you could argue it's not working with Dele Alli, but it has produced an effect and an impact with Ndombele. So I think in every aspect, this team is taken time, because, you know, back end of last season, I think the Bournemouth game seemed like a particularly, you know, low point almost. It felt like a, you know, real, you know, low point. And, you know, all of a sudden you know, you sort of kind of back in the mix now. It didn't even start well with Everton, did it? Opening.
No.
And so, you know, I think it's a really, you know, I think it's a much better team now.
Oh, definitely, yeah, definitely. You know, Spurs fans will be able to say, you know, for sure. But one thing I noticed after the Man City game was, you know, Jose Mourinho, you know, shaking hands with most of his players and really been animated and seems to be smiling a lot more. I mean, you'll be able to say, John, in press conferences whether that's been the case or not. But do you think that Jose is sort of adapted his style to the modern player? You know, at Man United, he was falling out with players left, right, and centre. Paul Pogba, Luke Shaw, Anthony Martial, for example. You know, he had that punditry spell at Sky Sports where I think most fans were sort of forgotten about how tactically aware he is, and he seems to be really engaged and smiling. So, do you think that spell away from the touchline has really helped him at all?
Yeah, it probably has, because honestly, if he jumped straight from Man United to Tottenham, in no way did I think that would work. Simply because I just think, you know, I watched a lot of him in the closing stages at United, and you know, there was a bitter, angry man basically. And frankly, I doubted whether he'd be a good fit simply because of that aspect for Spurs, not because so much else. And, you know, Pochettino, the fans loved him, didn't they? Although, you know, I have to say, fans were beginning to question and falling out of love, weren't they? And it's just difficult to go from, you know, Pochettino's such a, you know, exciting kind of, you know, manager and such a, you know, expansive coach to a pragmatist like Mourinho. So, you know, it's very, very. I think it's difficult to kind of make that transition. But I just think with Mourinho, in that time away, he's gone away, got refreshed. He's come back a different person. I think there's, you know, something in there that basically wants him to, you know, make him succeed again, show that people have misjudged him. It's taken some time, but I do think that basically He's back to the kind of the Mourinho. I'm not sure about the kind of the really engaging, the kind of crazy, strange, but humorous guy in the first incarnation at Chelsea. But I do think certainly the second time around, I think he's got that, fire back. And I think that basically he's up for it. And I do think that you're seeing a better version of Mourinho than the one that ended at Man United, ended so badly.
Oh, definitely. I think, I'm seeing Mourinho 14-15 vibes. I'm seeing at Chelsea. So, you mentioned some of the summer signings there earlier, John. I think for me, obviously Gareth Bale gets headlines and right so because of the quality of player. But I think for me, I think Hoiberg has been a really astute signing in midfield. He was excellent against Man City. Again, like Tottenham had a slow start against Everton, but he's gradually improved. Do you think he could be, albeit not a headline signing? Do you think he could be really key for Mourinho's plans for the rest of the season?
Yeah, listen, I must say, I hold up my hands on this one. I was sceptical about Hoiberg because I saw Hoiberg at Southampton and I was thinking, is he a top six player? Is he going to get you in the Champions League? Is he going to get you to challenge for the title? And I have my doubts, simply because I think he was always a good shield. Please don't get me wrong, but I think if you're at the in the top four, you can't afford to be a one-dimensional player. And I was dubious as to whether he was could offer not just the defensive base, but also someone who could have a good vision, good range of passing, bring it out, pick his moments, be a very effective player. And I think as the weeks have gone on, I think he's definitely improved. And I think that I think that performance. Listen, I heard someone talking about after the Man United game how brilliant he's been since day one. And I just think, no, that's just not the Hoiberg that I saw. I think it took him a while to settle. And I think that, maybe the Man United game was a bit of a watershed moment where he played well. And that was sort of changing and improving. And from then on, I think he's only got better and better. And I think that basically quite a few players made statement performances against City in which they were disciplined, kept their shape. I mean, I remember one moment, I sat there in the press box at White Hart Lane, one of the privileged, lucky ones, really, and sort of, it was in the second half, and I looked at, kind of a very central position, looked to my left, and basically you had literally, every Spurs player bar Harry Kane behind the ball. And that remained the case for about a good 4 or 5 minutes, frankly. It felt like they were manning the barricades, in the trenches. But that does them a disservice because they were pressing so aggressively, that every man was well disciplined, every player kept a shape, and it was really, really impressive. And then basically not long after that, they kind of strung together a brilliant counter-attack and then got the second goal. And that was a really good performance. And Hoiberg, was every bit a part of that.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. We'll finish off, John, with your predictions for Tottenham this season. Obviously, it's still early days, but where do you think they'll finish in the table?
Well, I think they'll finish top four. I must say, I think ultimately Liverpool will probably be, crowned champions. But then I think that, I look at it and I think that Tottenham and Chelsea will be in the top four. Sounding a bit familiar here, like a bit of a broken record. And I just think that it's. I do think though that basically it's going to be an open title race. I don't think we'll have it decided by February, March. I think that basically, I think it'll go to the wire. So I think ultimately, Spurs, could come second or third, basically. But I think that in the grand scheme of things, I think that's a good season. I think they're basically giving them room to breathe, bearing in mind the difficulties they're up against, the financial implications, and it's difficult to compete in the market. I think that's an impressive turn. I wouldn't also bet against them about winning a trophy, because I think Mourinho has definitely got it in his head that he wants to win something this season. He wants to lay down a marker. Basically, it's been too long, and I think if he can get some silverware, even if it's not the title this time, I think that shows progression, and I think that shows you're building. And I do think that that's within his grasp.
Yeah, well, he likes the Europa League, doesn't he, Jose? So we'll see how he gets on with the trophies. John, thanks for your time. Really appreciate your time. Well, thanks everyone for watching. If you're new to Garage Football, please subscribe to us. Follow us on the socials. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, follow John on Twitter if you're not already. Thanks very much. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.